You are listening to C-Suite Perspectives, a podcast by the Conference Board.
Welcome to C-Suite Perspectives, a signature series by the Conference Board. I'm Sara Murray, Managing Director International, and the guest host of today's episode. Today, we'll discuss the best countries in Europe for multinationals to hire in. And joining me is Robin Maillard, researcher in the Human Capital Centre at the Conference Board Europe and author of the Where to Hire Index. This is a new tool from the Conference Board, and it's a data-driven guide to 31 European labour markets, analysing everything from talent and skills to workplace culture and competitiveness. So let's start with, why did you decide to create the Where to Hire Index, and what problems does it solve for companies operating in Europe?
Well, we created the Where to Hire Index to answer quite a simple but complex situations, a complex question. So companies nowadays, for their hiring decisions, they must balance things such as skills availability, cost, productivity, and an increasingly more difficult international institutional context. So it's just not one factor. So also the European labor market is fragmenting and shifting structurally. The demographics are changing quite fast, but the people are aging fast. There is also a wave of digitalization and a bigger and bigger skills gap companies need to adapt. So really, the talent map is redrawing nowadays. And we noticed with our members that companies lack the clear, comparable, and decision-oriented framework. Most existing rankings, the one already available in the market, were a bit too narrow and focused mostly on either cost or talent. While, as I mentioned before, we needed more. There are more things to take into account for multinationals. So the problems it solves, we try to have a lot of indicators together and combine them to have a single view, a single data-driven benchmark. We started with 31 countries, all in Europe. We might cover more soon countries, maybe in Asia or North America as well. So it helps CHROs and their colleagues to answer a key question: where can we access the right skills at a sustainable cost now, but also in the future? It translates complex labor market data into practical decisions, one view. Where to hire, where to invest, where to expand operations. It shifts definitely the conversation from where is the labor the cheapest to where can talent drive long-term performance and return our investment.
So it's really about helping companies move from intuition to data when deciding where to hire. And it sounds like, more importantly, it's not just for today, but for where talent will be sustainable in the future.
Exactly. It's not about trying to understand short-term changes, but long-term ones.
Yeah. Okay. And as you said, many rankings look at cost or talent alone. So what makes the Where to Hire Index different from other talent or competitive rankings?
Yeah, so we combine skills, productivity, costs, also institutions, business culture, and labor market dynamics into one single framework. So really, we take more indicators into account rather than just a cost-driven view. What's really different is the aspect about culture and institutions that are often overlooked by the other index on the market. It reflects really how companies actually make decisions. We have here at the Conference Board in the Human Capital Center, we are in contact with the members all the time. So we ask them, okay, what is important for you? And we saw that cost isn't the most important factor anymore. So we asked them, and we noticed that skills is the most important aspect nowadays, where I can really find the right skills. But of course, we need to find the right skills. We need to, make sure that the cost is sustainable, that the added value is there. So here we take productivity into account. So making sure that, okay, maybe all the skills are in one country, but that these people in that country are not that productive. So might not be that interesting to invest there. So we made sure in that index that we balance these two aspects. So we focus really on performance, not just price, not just cheap labor, but really return on investment, return on talent, I like to say. And it's really an holistic view of the talent ecosystem, including culture, institution, and societal factors. It's actionable for strategy. It's not descriptive. What I mean about that is that it's a decision support tool for members. It's not just a ranking to see whether your country is performing better than another one. It's not at all about that.
So it's again, like I'm hearing, it's not a cost ranking, it's more about a performance ranking. You're really looking at the ecosystem, and it's not just one variable that can tell that story.
Indeed.
So when you look at trends in Europe's labour market, how did this tool, why is that necessary now?
Well, very good question. Because what's happening right now in Europe, is a real structural shift in the labor market. So what we see is a structural talent shortage and also demographic decline. The aging population lead to a shrinking workforces, which is tightening the talent supply across Europe. Also, what we see also from our multinational members is that the skills needed is changing very fast. So there is, for instance, AI coming in, also the green transition. All these skill sets are quite new and change every 2-3 years. So we need to make sure that if you are a multinational, we give you the locations where you can find the people that are adaptable, that are really able to learn new skills and in a sustainable way, which is not, they have the skills right now, but not adaptable in 5 years. So that's what we tried to measure here. And that's the reason why we included a lot of indicators about business culture, about the fact that one market is attractive, so that you make sure that you can retain the right talent in one market. What we see also is a fragmentation of the labor market in Europe, and it's important to have that in mind. The reality is really uneven across countries, across sectors, and on some skills. Some skills are available, some in some markets, not in another one. Some countries have the skills, but very difficult to retain the employees because the wages are not attractive enough, etc. So the markets are competing, but are very different too. What we see as well is the rising strategic importance of location decision. It's really a business strategy level nowadays. It's not just an operational choice. It's not just something you can take. You need to take it seriously nowadays, because one bad decision can have a lot of hidden costs, and on the future it can really compound and becomes a real difficulty for one multinational. So for the multinational companies we are working with. So these are the trends in Europe nowadays.
So Europe's talent map's basically being redrawn in real time, and companies can't rely on old assumptions, especially, as you said, with the demographic shifts, with the digital shifts. It's changing everything. So it's a good opportunity to kind of totally rethink how to make those decisions. So you mentioned this tool is primarily for CHROs, is that right?
Yeah, really, at its core, this is really a tool for decision makers. So the higher in the hierarchy, the more useful it will be for you. So it's for, I would say, CHROs, yes, and senior HR leaders overall, mostly to the one working in the HR strategy and workforce planning. It would be useful to them. And business leaders overall, people working on the strategy of one company, because here it's not just for HR people. It's really for everyone working in a multinational, understanding what's at stake. And I truly believe that nowadays talent war is not over. It's key. It's strategic. So it's for everyone working in strategy.
Yeah, a strategic tool, because it's really about shaping the footprint. It's not just filling roles.
Indeed.
Yeah, yeah. So this is more about long-term trends rather than what's happening now. That's where it can really help.
Indeed, yes. It's about long-term fundamentals. Um, Really, it's designed for strategic decisions. It's not cyclical timing. Huh?
Hmm.
So what we are, the ranking we have right now, the scores we give to all the dimensions in the index won't change in the past 5 years, won't fundamentally change. What we are giving is really a view which is stable. And the fact that we take a lot of indicators into account, it adds a lot of stability also to our index. So really, it gives a view for the next years to come. It's not for just today, and it won't change tomorrow either. Yeah.
It's really about structural competitiveness and where companies can win over the next decade.
Yes, indeed. That's really where what we try to produce with this index. Yes.
What does the future of work mean for your employees? How will your company navigate the future of AI? Will there be a global recession? At the Conference Board, our experts translate the latest research and economic analysis into insights and real-time problem solving for your organization. Membership at the Conference Board provides your team with an assortment of knowledge from economics, marketing and communications, governance and sustainability, public policy, and human capital. As a member, you'll have access to our center experts, member-exclusive events, data and benchmarking tools, and peer sharing that will help you understand the present and shape the future. Consider becoming a Conference Board member today by visiting www.conference-board.org.
Welcome back to C-Suite Perspectives. I'm your host, Sara Murray, Managing Director International at the Conference Board. I'm joined by Robin Maillard, researcher at the Human Capital Centre in Europe. So, what were some of the most surprising or counterintuitive findings from this year's results?
Well, the first one I would say, and I had that question a lot here with my colleagues, is the most competitive countries are also the most expensive ones. So the top three is Denmark, Switzerland, Ireland, and you know it shows one important thing and one key finding. If you have to remember one thing from that index, is that cost isn't a synonym of competitiveness. Okay, it's not low cost, you're competitive. It's not at all like this. In a talent war, it's different. Expensive markets, they also deliver an exceptional return on investment. They have a high productivity. They have strong institutions. It's stable. They are reliable. So companies pay more, sure, but they get better performance and lower risk, which is key for multinationals. Another one is that smaller, agile economies outperform larger ones. So I mentioned the top three: Denmark, Switzerland, Ireland, three smaller economies. And they are really agile. They can adapt to the market. Here, I mentioned before that the market is changing fast. It's no surprise that the small market is better for that. They can adapt quickly. So the biggest market in Europe, the biggest economies, they are not performing that well. Germany, France, Italy, it's difficult for them to adapt. So scale nowadays in that economy is no longer a guarantee of competitiveness. The economy is moving too fast.
Yeah, indeed, because in the end, the high-cost countries often deliver the best return because of the skills, because of the productivity. Yeah.
Indeed, that's right.
So how should companies actually use the Where to Hire index in practice when making location or workforce decisions?
So we need to come back to the definition of an index here to understand really how it works. So I think the value of an index is to decide. So you have in mind which kind of decision you want to take. You know what's important for you, and you pick them and decide based on that. Our index can provide you exactly what you need. So, for instance, you're looking for very strategic, high skill roles. What do you need basically? you're less concerned about having low cost. What you're concerned about is having people that really will come with new ideas, innovative ideas. Where does that happen? What you want as well is that you want to retain them the most longer you can, because ideas do not come from someone staying in your company for 6 months only. So you want to retain them. Is one country attractive enough to retain them on the long term? So that's this kind of, we answer this kind of question with the index. Really, we help our members to make better decisions. It's a decision tool. Ultimately, it should help people or members to shortlist markets. So I identified what's important for me. I want a shortlist of the best markets. And if I have 3 to 4 countries that are relevant for one position, that's already a win for me, because I can decide between 4 countries and focus on these 4 countries and try to find the right persons or right people in these markets. So it really helps them. It's also helping companies to balance short-term efficiency versus long-term value. So as I started to mention, low cost is a synonym of quick wins, but it's also a synonym of hidden costs that we compound over time. So really, the goal is to avoid that and to move toward high skills ecosystem, towards investment and sustainable performance and growth on the long term. And lastly, I think because it's important taking into account the current economy with the difficulties in terms of geopolitical aspect, the fact that the economy is quite uncertain. When the economy is uncertain, it's really important to diversify. And our index might help also companies to diversify their hiring footprint, avoid an over-reliance on one country, and help them build multi-country talent strategies.
There's really, the value is in balancing 3 things: the talent, the cost, the long-term resilience, and just thinking maybe differently about the types of roles that you're hiring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really needs to, it really helps to think in terms of roles and what you need for one specific role and decide accordingly.
Yeah. And I think what you just kind of touched on again is the trade-off, because if you just look at cost, that's not actually going to get you everything. It's using this index, or this index can help you move away from that low cost equals a better mindset, because it's more about the return on the talent than simply the cost of talent.
Yes, indeed. It should really be used as a strategic discussion tool. Make sure that you can come with a slightly different idea, with taking more things into account and share it with evidence, data-based in the board or in a strategic meeting. Yes, not only about just cost as the aspects. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask about what you thought some of the biggest mistakes companies are making when choosing to hire in Europe. Do you think it primarily is on the cost, or are there other mistakes that are sometimes made?
It used to be just about cost. I think that's the first mistake, but I'm speaking here in the past because I think it's less and less true. And the index will help also on that matter. It's also about having a one-size-fits-all approach and thinking that I'm going to move everything there. I think it used to be a big mistake as well. Thinking short-term, not strategic, not long-term. Underestimating institutional and cultural factors as well. Over-relying on large or obvious markets as well, and not diversifying enough. I think it's also a big mistake a company used to do.
Yeah, so it's really, again, like you said, institutions, culture, long-term adaptability, that needs to be a much broader set of considerations. Yeah.
Yes.
So looking ahead, what changes do you expect in the next few years?
So looking ahead, we expect the competition for talent to intensify significantly. It's not over. The war isn't over. It's just a beginning, to be honest. Populations are aging fast here in Europe. Immigration schemes are not coming for different reasons. It's not happening. So it's really difficult to offset the aging population. The competition for skills, for talent, will increase over time. Skills will become the main competitive differentiator, I think, for multinationals in the next years. With AI, the digital transformation, but also the green transitions, sometimes overlooked, I think. This will push companies into massive reskilling pressure. And we have to take that into account because you need employees that are ready for that. Greater divergence between countries as well. I mentioned that smaller countries are more agile, and I think that divergence will increase over time because, as I mentioned before, it's changing really fast. And if it continues that way, if some countries continues to be rigid, yeah, we will see that divergence deepen over time. So rigidity, demographics will really be two very different aspects for the markets, and they will need to find ways to face that. The last thing is that location strategies will become more and more sophisticated. We will see more and more companies going for a multi-country footprint, really adapted to their situation, with really also hybrid ways of working. Increasingly, I think it will become a reality, and human capital is becoming more and more strategic. Really, that's something to take into account, and it will we will see a definitive shift toward where should I hire? So, to something more about where to build talent ecosystems. How do I build a talent pipeline? Or I make sure that all my employees that are aging, but maybe tomorrow won't be working for me, will be replaced, and at a sustainable cost. No, it's not like last minute I need to find someone to replace that employee, but really it's already prepared. Otherwise, the cost will be too high, and it will be difficult to be competitive on the long term. So I think the strategic workforce planning will become key and more strategic for companies. So the key takeaway, I think, the future, yeah, talent strategy will be the main driver of business competitiveness for multinationals.
So yeah, likely to see more divergence, countries pulling ahead based on skills and adaptability, and companies will just need to be much more dynamic in how they choose where to hire. Wow, thank you for joining us today. I think if there's one message from today's conversation that I'm taking away, it's that where you will hire is going to become as strategic as what you produce. And just thank you, Robin, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to all of you for listening to C-Suite Perspectives. I'm Sara Murray, and this series has been brought to you by the Conference Board.
You have been listening to C-Suite Perspectives, a podcast by the Conference Board.